The lecture hall fell silent. Not the comfortable quiet of students taking notes, not the thoughtful pause between equations. This was the suffocating silence that comes right before everything changes forever. General Thrak'zor stood at the podium, all 7 feet of scaled muscle and military precision. His crimson eyes swept across the amphitheater seats, where 200 cadets from 30 different species sat frozen. The Galactic Military Academy's advanced tactical theory class had just become something else entirely. Something dangerous. Maya Chen sat in the 3rd row, her stylus hovering over her datapad. She didn't move, didn't blink, just watched as the Kelvorian general slowly removed his ceremonial battle gauntlets, 1 finger at a time. "Let me be clear," Thrak'zor said, his voice carrying that particular rasp his species developed after decades of shouting orders across battlefields. "I did not request to teach at this academy. Your coalition of peaceful advancement begged my government to send military advisors to share our expertise, to help you soft species understand what actual warfare requires." A Brevian student in the front row shifted uncomfortably, their chitinous plates clicking together. Thrak'zor smiled. "It wasn't pleasant, but after 6 months of watching you fumble through basic tactical scenarios, I have reached a conclusion." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "Most of you will die screaming in your first real engagement. Not because you lack intelligence, not because you lack courage, but because you have been raised in a galaxy that has forgotten what conflict truly means." Maya's roommate, a Tularian named Senna, whispered urgently, "He can't say this. It violates the academic conduct codes." "Watch him," Maya murmured back. Thrak'zor descended from the podium, his boots striking the floor with measured precision. "The Kelvorian Empire has won 473 major conflicts in the last millennium. We have subjugated 68 systems. We have turned entire moons into monuments to our victories." He walked slowly between the rows of seats. "And do you know why? Because we understand a fundamental truth that your precious coalition refuses to acknowledge." He stopped. Right next to Maya's row, "Violence is not a failure of diplomacy. It is the ultimate expression of will, the final arbiter when words prove meaningless." His eyes locked onto hers. "And right now, looking at all of you, I see nothing but casualties waiting to happen." A Darnathan cadet stood up in the back, her blue skin flushing darker with anger. "This is unacceptable. I'm reporting this to the dean immediately." "Sit down, Cadet Violora," Thrak'zor said, without even turning. "Or leave. I genuinely don't care which." Vilara stormed out. 3 others followed her. The general smiled again. "Good. The first lesson of warfare. Know when you're outmatched and retreat accordingly. 4 of you just passed today's class." He turned back to the remaining students. "The rest of you, let's see if you have the spine to do more than sit there." Looking terrified, he walked back to the center of the room. "Here's my challenge. Open, public, recorded for the Academy archives." Thrak'zor's voice dropped to something almost conversational, which somehow made it more threatening. "I will face any one of you in the combat simulation arena. Full tactical engagement. No restrictions on strategy or force deployment. You choose the terrain. You choose the scenario. You get 1 week to prepare." The silence returned, heavier than before. "When you lose, and you will lose, I want each of you to remember this moment. Remember that all your theories and equations and peaceful philosophies mean nothing against someone who has dedicated their entire existence to the art of war." He crossed his arms. "So, who wants to embarrass themselves first? Or are you all too frightened to even try?" Nobody moved. Maya could hear her own heartbeat, could feel Senna's claws digging into the armrest beside her, could see the calculation happening behind Thrak'zor's eyes as he counted his victory before it even began. She stood up. Every head turned. Thrak'zor's eyes narrowed. "Name and species, cadet." "Maya Chen." "Human." "Earth." A ripple of whispers spread through the amphitheater. Humans were new to the Galactic Coalition. Barely 10 years since first contact. Their planet wasn't even fully integrated yet. Most species still considered them a curiosity at best, a potential liability at worst. "Ah yes, the Deathworlders." Thrak'zor's tone dripped with sarcasm. "Tell me, Cadet Shen, does your species even have a proper military tradition, or did you just learn what a spaceship was last decade?" Maya smiled. It was the same smile her grandmother used to wear right before demolishing someone at chess. "We have some experience with conflict, General," Small-scale stuff. Nothing as impressive as 473 major victories, obviously. Is that fear I hear hiding behind humor? Is that insecurity I hear hiding behind bullying? Maya countered. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you need to prove something pretty badly. Why else challenge students? Not exactly sporting, is it? The whispers grew louder. Thrak'zor took 3 steps toward her. You think this is bullying? This is education. A lesson your species apparently needs. Since you arrived at this academy with absurd confidence and zero practical experience. Zero practical experience, Maya repeated, nodding slowly. Right. Okay. So, General, quick question. How many active conflicts is your empire currently engaged in? His jaw tightened. 2 minor border disputes. And how many active conflicts were humans engaged in during our pre-space era? I don't have that information readily available. Constant, Maya said quietly. The answer is constant. We fought each other for 10,000 years straight. No breaks, different groups, different reasons, but always someone fighting somewhere. We got really, really good at it because we had to be. Because if you weren't better than the tribe across the river, you died. Your whole bloodline ended. She took a step forward. So when you talk about understanding what conflict truly means, when you flex about subjugating systems and building monuments to victory, Maya's voice hardened. General, we built monuments to our dead, millions of them. Fields of white stones, stretching farther than you can see. We wrote poetry about the horror of what we did to each other, created art trying to process the trauma, invented entire philosophies trying to find a better way. The lecture hall had gone absolutely still, and you know what we learned, General Thrak'zor. She met his gaze without flinching. We learned that anyone who brags about how good they are at war has never actually experienced war. They've experienced victory, which is completely different. For 3 long seconds, nobody breathed. Then, Thrak'zor laughed, a genuine booming sound that echoed off the walls. Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. He actually looked pleased. You have fire, little human. Misguided, poorly informed fire, but fire nonetheless. Does that mean you accept my challenge? Maya asked. Accept? I'm delighted by it. The general's smile turned predatory. 1 week from today, standard combat simulation. You choose the terrain and scenario, as I stated. I will bring 4 centuries of Calvorian tactical doctrine. Let's see what your species' 10,000 years of primitive conflict taught you. He started walking toward the exit, then paused. Oh, and Cadet Chen, when this is over, when you're watching your forces get systematically dismantled, I want you to remember something. His voice carried across the entire room. The difference between academic theory and actual warfare is the same as the difference between reading about pain and experiencing it. You're about to get a very educational experience. The door closed behind him. The lecture hall erupted into chaos. Students surrounded Maya immediately. Some excited, some concerned, several looking at her like she'd just volunteered for execution. Senna grabbed her arm. What were you thinking? He's going to destroy you. This isn't some simulation exercise where everyone gets a participation award. Thrak'zor has fought in real battles, led real armies. You just signed up for public humiliation. Maya sat back down, her hands surprisingly steady as she pulled up her datapad. Maybe, or maybe he just made a really big mistake. What mistake? He's a legendary general. Exactly, Maya said, already pulling up files on Calvorian military history. He's legendary, which means he has a reputation to protect, which means he can't afford to just barely win. He has to dominate, has to prove his point so completely that nobody ever questions his superiority again. A Seraphian student leaned over from the row behind. That doesn't help you. That makes it worse. Does it? Maya's fingers flew across her screen, pulling up battle records, tactical analyses, victory reports. Or does it mean he's going to be predictable, arrogant, so focused on proving how much better he is that he won't actually adapt to what I'm doing? Senna's eyes widened. You're serious? You actually think you can win? I think I can make him regret this challenge, Maya corrected. Big difference. But yeah, I'm going to try. She stood up, gathering her things. The other students parted to let her through, their expressions ranging from awe to pity to confusion. As Maya walked toward the exit, a senior cadet from the Rex Collective stepped into her path. His name was Corvin, and he was generally considered one of the top tactical minds in their year. "Chen, wait!" He looked around at the dispersing crowd, then lowered his voice. "Listen, I know you're brave. I know you're smart, but this is suicide. Thrak'zor doesn't bluff. He doesn't play fair, and he definitely doesn't lose to first-year cadets." Maya considered him for a moment. "You fought in the Rex territorial wars before joining the academy, right?" He nodded slowly. "Then you know that the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the most experience. It's the one with nothing to lose." She smiled. "I'm a human from a planet the rest of the galaxy barely knows exists. I'm already expected to fail. Already dismissed as a Deathworld primitive. Playing it soldier. If I lose, everyone just nods and says that's what they predicted. And if you win, then I don't have to listen to 7 more months of Thrak'zor's lectures about how soft and weak we all are." Maya shifted her bag to her other shoulder. "Plus, someone needs to knock that smug bastard down a few levels. Might as well be me." Corvin laughed, despite himself. "You're either brilliant or insane." "Human," Maya said. "So probably both." She left the lecture hall and stepped into the corridor beyond. 1 week, 7 days to prepare for the most important simulation of her academy career. 7 days to prove that her species belonged among the stars. 7 days to make General Thrak'zor regret ever issuing his challenge. Maya pulled up her communication interface and sent a message to her advisor, requesting emergency access to the Academy's complete military history archives. Then, she sent another message to her father back on Earth. The subject line was simple. "Need everything you've got on asymmetric warfare, guerrilla tactics, and how to beat someone bigger than you." His response came back in under a minute. "That's my girl. Sending files now. Make us proud." Maya smiled as she walked toward the library. The real work was about to begin. The simulation chamber occupied the entire lower level of the Tactical Studies building. Maya stood at the observation window, watching technicians run diagnostics on the holographic projection systems. In 6 hours, this space would transform into whatever battlefield she designed. Whatever nightmare scenario she created specifically to counter General Thrak'zor's strengths. No pressure. Behind her, the door hissed open. She didn't turn, already recognizing the clicking pattern of Senna's footsteps. "You should eat something," her roommate said, holding out a nutrition pack. "You've been here for 18 hours straight." "I ate 4 hours ago." "That was yesterday, Maya." "Yesterday, 4 hours ago." Maya blinked, checking her chronometer. Senna was right. The days had blurred together into one continuous stream of research, planning, and simulation modeling. "Oh, thanks." She took the nutrition pack but didn't open it, still staring at the empty chamber below. Senna moved beside her. "The entire academy is talking about this. Did you know they're streaming it live to all the coalition member worlds? The dean tried to cancel it, said it violated protocols about faculty-student conflicts. But Thrak'zor's government insisted, called it an important cultural exchange demonstration." "Of course they did," Maya muttered. "Nothing says cultural exchange like public humiliation. You could still withdraw, claim illness. Nobody would think less of you." "Everyone would think less of me, Senna." "That's exactly what they'd think." Maya finally turned to face her friend. "But that's not why I'm doing this anyway. I'm doing it because he's wrong." "About what?" "About violence being the ultimate expression of will. About warfare being some pure test of strength." Maya's voice carried an edge that made Senna's antennae twitch. "The Kelvorians won 473 conflicts because they were bigger and stronger than everyone they fought. That's not tactical genius. That's just being a bully with better weapons." She gestured at the chamber below. "Real warfare, the kind humans did to each other for millennia, wasn't about who had more guns. It was about who could think faster, adapt quicker, exploit weaknesses better. We had wars where tiny groups of fighters held off armies 100 times their size, where the side everyone expected to lose found ways to win anyway." Senna was quiet for a moment. "What scenario did you finally choose?" Maya smiled. Not the friendly smile, the dangerous one. Urban pacification. Occupied city. Insurgent resistance against superior military force. That's basically handing him the advantage. Kelvorian doctrine specializes in occupation and suppression. I know, that's the point. Maya pulled up her datapad, showing Senna the tactical map. He expects me to choose terrain that favors defenders, mountains, fortifications, something where I can hide behind walls and hope to survive. Instead, I'm giving him exactly what he's good at. That makes no sense. It makes perfect sense, because I'm not trying to defend the city. Maya highlighted several points on the map. I'm trying to make him destroy it. Every building he demolishes, every civilian sector he damages, trying to root out my forces, every heavy weapon he deploys in populated areas, all of it gets recorded. All of it goes into the post-simulation analysis. Understanding dawned in Senna's expression. You're not trying to win militarily, you're trying to win politically. I'm trying to prove that his whole philosophy is garbage, Maya corrected. He thinks warfare is about dominance and will. I'm going to show everyone watching that his approach creates nothing but chaos and suffering. That victory through overwhelming force isn't actually victory at all. He's still going to beat you. Tactically, I mean. Maya shrugged. Probably, but he's going to look terrible doing it. And every species in the coalition that's worried about Calvorian expansion is going to see exactly what occupation by his empire would look like. She paused. Plus, I have a few tricks planned that he won't see coming. The door opened again. This time, Corvin entered, followed by 3 other senior cadets. Chen, we need to talk. He looked serious. There's been chatter on the tactical networks. Thrak'zor's been running preparation simulations constantly. He's taking this seriously. Good. So am I. One of the other cadets, a Brevian named Chitask, clicked forward. We want to help. We've been compiling analysis on Calvorian tactical patterns, standard formations, response protocols, command structure vulnerabilities. Maya raised an eyebrow. Why? Because we're tired of his attitude too, Corvin said bluntly. Because half the Academy thinks humans are a joke species, and we'd like to see that perception change. And because, honestly, watching you stand up to him was the most interesting thing that's happened all semester. Chitask transferred files to Maya's datapad. This is everything we found. It won't guarantee victory, but it might help you last longer than he expects. Maya scrolled through the data. Hours of work, detailed behavioral analysis, pattern recognition algorithms applied to Thrak'zor's previous battles. It was exactly the kind of intelligence that could make a difference. Thank you, she said quietly. Seriously, this helps a lot. Corvin grinned. Just make it entertaining. If you're going down, at least make him work for it. They left her with encouragement and luck wishes. Senna stayed, watching Maya integrate the new information into her planning matrices. You know what the weirdest part of this whole thing is? Maya said after a while. What? I'm not scared. I should be terrified. Instead, I just keep thinking about my great-grandmother. She smiled at the memory. She was in a war back on Earth. Real one, not a simulation. She was part of a resistance movement against occupiers. Used to tell me stories about how they'd sabotage supply lines, feed false intelligence, turn the enemy's strengths into weaknesses. Did they win? Eventually. Took years. But yes. Maya's smile faded. She also told me that war never really ends, even after the fighting stops. That the scars last generations, that anyone who treats it like a game or a test of superiority has never actually experienced the cost. She looked back at the simulation chamber. That's what I want people to see tomorrow. Not me winning or losing, but the cost. The real cost of what Thrak'zor advocates for. The hours until the simulation ticked away. Maya ran through her plans again and again, refining strategies, identifying contingencies, preparing for every possible response. She slept for 90 minutes, showered, dressed in her academy combat fatigues, and arrived at the chamber 30 minutes early. The observation deck was packed. Students from every year, faculty members, even some visiting coalition officials who'd heard about the challenge and wanted to witness it firsthand. General Thrak'zor was already in his preparation room, visible through the window as he reviewed tactical displays. He looked calm, confident, like this was just another routine exercise. Maya entered her own prep room. The interface waited for her, ready to upload her chosen scenario and force parameters. Her hands moved across the controls, finalizing everything she'd prepared. Urban environment. Population of 200,000 simulated civilians, mixed species, mixed infrastructure. Her forces approximately 500 insurgent fighters, poorly equipped, no heavy weapons, operating in cells with limited coordination. Thrak'zor's forces, a full Calvorian occupation battalion, 3,000 soldiers, armor support, air superiority, complete surveillance network. The simulation director's voice crackled through the comm. Cadet Chen, are you certain about these parameters? You're outnumbered 6-1, with significant equipment disadvantage. Confirmed, Maya said. Lock it in. Your funeral, the director muttered, but the scenario loaded. The observation deck screens lit up, showing the virtual city spreading across the simulation space. Buildings, streets, civilians going about their programmed routines. A peaceful urban center about to become a war zone. The countdown began. 60 seconds. Maya closed her eyes, breathing slowly. Remembered her great-grandmother's voice. Remembered every lesson from Earth's bloody history. Remembered why she was doing this. 30 seconds. The observation deck fell silent. 15 seconds. Maya opened her eyes, focused on the tactical display showing her insurgent forces scattered throughout the city. 5 seconds. General Thrak'zor appeared on the shared communication channel. Last chance to surrender, Cadet Chen. Save yourself the embarrassment. Maya smiled at the camera. Send anyone you want, General. We'll be waiting. 0. The simulation began, and Maya Chen went to war. Thrak'zor's forces entered the city with textbook precision. 3-pronged advance, air reconnaissance, establishing surveillance, command posts secured in the central administrative building. Exactly what the tactical manuals recommended. Exactly what Maya expected. Her first cells struck 90 seconds in. Not at his soldiers, at the infrastructure. Power grid nodes exploded across the eastern district. Not enough to cause casualties, but enough to plunge a third of the city into darkness. Surveillance went offline. Communication networks scrambled. Thrak'zor adapted immediately, switching to independent unit coordination. His soldiers advanced more cautiously, checking corners, securing blocks methodically. Maya's second wave hit supply lines, small teams with improvised explosives, targeting the fuel depots his armor units needed. 3 vehicles disabled. Not destroyed, just immobilized, blocking narrow streets and creating choke points. In the observation deck, murmurs of surprise rippled through the crowd. This wasn't a conventional defense. This was something else. Thrak'zor's voice boomed across the command channel. Clever, Cadet Chen. Harassment tactics. But you're only delaying the inevitable. My forces will secure the city block by block if necessary. I know, Maya replied calmly. That's what I'm counting on. Her third phase activated. Civilian sectors, not attacks. Evacuations. Her insurgent cells started moving the simulated population out of contested areas, creating massive refugee flows that clogged the streets. Thrak'zor's forces had to slow down, had to account for civilians, had to avoid collateral damage per the simulation's rules of engagement. Every delay gave Maya's forces time to reposition, to strike and fade, to turn the city itself into a weapon against the occupation. This is cowardly, Thrak'zor snarled over the channel. Hiding behind civilians, using them as shields. I'm protecting them, Maya shot back. You're the one who brought an army into their city. Every shot you fire, every building you clear, you're the one endangering them, not me. The observation deck erupted in arguments. Some agreed with Thrak'zor, others saw Maya's point. The dean looked like he regretted allowing the simulation to proceed. The battle continued. Hours compressed into minutes from the observation perspective. The simulation accelerated through the tactical exchanges. Thrak'zor's forces advanced relentlessly, but at enormous cost. Not in casualties. His troops were too well trained for that, but in time, in resources, in the growing destruction spreading across the virtual city. Maya's insurgents never won a direct engagement, never even tried. They hit and ran, sabotaged and vanished, turned every victory for Thrak'zor into a Pyrrhic struggle that gained him ground, but lost him efficiency. By hour 6 of the simulation, Thrak'zor controlled 70% of the city, but 40% of its infrastructure lay in ruins. Civilian casualties from collateral damage numbered in the thousands, and Maya's forces, though diminished, still operated in the sectors he'd supposedly secured. The general's frustration became palpable. His tactics grew more aggressive. Heavier weapons deployed, entire blocks cleared with artillery, rather than room-to-room sweeps. Maya watched it all unfold exactly as she'd predicted. General, question. At what point does victory stop being worth the cost? When the enemy surrenders, he growled, which you haven't done yet. No, but look at your results. Maya highlighted the damage assessment reports, flooding the simulation metrics. You came here to liberate the city from insurgent control. Instead, you've destroyed a third of it. The civilians you were meant to protect are either dead or fled. The infrastructure you needed to maintain order is gone. Congratulations. You won a pile of rubble. The observation deck went dead silent. Thrak'zor's face on the screen showed something Maya had never seen from him before. Uncertainty. This simulation doesn't reflect realistic occupation scenarios, he said, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. Really? Because from Earth's history, this is exactly what occupation looks like. The strong power sweeps in, wins every battle, controls every official structure, and then spends decades bleeding resources, trying to suppress a population that refuses to accept their presence. Maya's voice hardened. You talk about warfare like it's chess, like victory means checkmate, and everyone goes home. But that's not how it works. Real warfare is what happens after the winning side thinks they've won. She pulled up historical files, Earth conflicts, Vietnam, Afghanistan, dozens of examples where superior military force failed to achieve lasting victory against determined resistance. Your Calvorian Empire has 473 victories, General. How many of those turned into permanent occupations? How many became running sores that drain your resources year after year? How many victories turned into permanent military commitments because the people you conquered never actually surrendered? Thrak'zor stared at the data, at the simulated city burning on his screens, at the tactical reports showing his forces spread thin, exhausted, unable to actually secure what they'd nominally conquered. The simulation timer hit hour 12. The director's voice announced the conclusion. Simulation complete. Final analysis in progress. The holographic city faded. The tactical displays went dark. Maya and Thrak'zor emerged from their prep rooms onto the main observation deck. The crowd parted for them. 200 cadets and faculty watching the most unusual confrontation in Academy history. The director cleared his throat. Tactical assessment. General Thrak'zor's forces achieved all primary objectives. Insurgent resistance reduced to 15% operational capacity. By standard metrics, this is a decisive military victory. Thrak'zor nodded, as I predicted. However, the director continued, and that one word made everyone lean forward. Secondary assessment indicates critical failures in occupation sustainability. Infrastructure damage exceeds acceptable thresholds. Civilian casualties trigger immediate coalition intervention protocols. Resource expenditure projects to unsustainable levels within 6 months of continued occupation. Strategic assessment, military victory achieved, but political and logistical failure imminent. He looked between Maya and Thrak'zor. In summary, General, you won the battle. Cadet Chen won the war. The observation deck erupted into chaos. Arguments exploded in a dozen languages. Some defended traditional military assessment. Others argued Maya's approach represented the future of asymmetric conflict. The deans shouted for order, but nobody listened. Maya just stood there, watching Thrak'zor's expression cycle through anger, disbelief, and finally something that might have been grudging respect. You made your point, little human, he said quietly, just loud enough for her to hear over the chaos. War is not a game, victory is not absolute, and strength alone does not determine outcomes. That's all I wanted you to understand, Maya replied. I underestimated your species. He extended one clawed hand. That will not happen again. She shook it. His grip could have crushed her fingers. He was careful not to. As the crowd continued their debates, as the dean finally restored order and began reviewing the official results, Maya caught Senna's eye across the room. Her roommate grinned and signed in their private code. You absolute maniac. That was brilliant. Maya signed back. That was human, because that's what this had really been about, not proving humans could fight. Everyone knew Deathworlders could fight, but proving they understood the true cost, the real consequences, the difference between winning battles and achieving actual peace. Later, much later, after the official reviews and the media interviews and the endless analysis sessions, Maya finally made it back to her quarters. She collapsed on her bed, exhausted but satisfied. Her communication console blinked with a message from Earth. Her father's face appeared on screen, pride radiating from every line. Saw the whole thing. Your great-grandmother would have been proud. You didn't just defeat a general today, Maya. You taught an entire galaxy something they needed to learn. He paused, smiling. Though between you and me, I love the part where you made him destroy half the city to prove your point. That's Chen family spite, right there. We're very proud. Maya laughed, the sound surprising even herself. Thanks, Dad. Tell everyone I'm okay. Tell them Earth did just fine out here among the stars. Already spreading the word. Get some rest, soldier. You earned it. The connection closed. Maya stared at her ceiling, replaying the day's events. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, new opportunities to prove humanity belonged in the Galactic Coalition. But tonight, she'd accomplished something important. She'd shown them that humans understood war, not because they were good at it, but because they'd learned to be better than it. That was the real victory. The one that actually mattered. And as she drifted off to sleep, Maya smiled, knowing that General Thrak'zor would never again dismiss a human cadet, or any student who had the courage to challenge assumptions. The galaxy was about to learn what Earth had already discovered the hard way. Sometimes the smallest voice carried the most important message. Sometimes the underdog taught the champion a lesson they desperately needed. And sometimes, right in the middle of class, when an alien general issued a challenge, the right response was exactly what Maya had given. Don't flinch. Stand up and prove them all wrong.